There you are. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to RVing in New England. It's Wednesday evening, and here's my co-host, John DePietro, and I'm Bob Zagami, and welcome to the show. How you doing, John?
Bob, I'm doing great because of two things. Number one, we had a great weekend last weekend camping up in Maine. You know, their Memorial Day, then we went back in July, and you know what? It's always nice to see the spirit of summer still alive, even though it was a little bit nippy, but they've got a couple of heated pools. The kids took advantage of every heated pool opportunity that there was. And there's supposed to be another great weekend as well coming up. So, you know what? This time of year, weather is news in New England. And actually, weather is news all over the place when you figure that our friends down south have to deal with tropical storms at this time of the year. Everybody's scrambling to get those last few camping experiences.
We had a tropical storm this morning. We
Right.
had
Exactly.
high wind. We had a lot of trees down in town. We didn't lose power, but it was vicious there for a couple of hours, and then by noontime it cleared up. And by the time I got back to Maine, it was nice and sunny up here. So yeah, that's right.
Yep.
We haven't seen, haven't seen too much activity from the dealers. I mean, the dealers are busy. They're still starting to get some more of the replenishment stock in. That's good. We're glad to see that. Although I still have 3 or 4 of our dealers that do not have any new inventory on their lots. And the toughest one of all is Airstream. My Airstream deal, our Airstream dealers are really struggling to get the new inventory in.
Well, it's that time of year that generally you see Columbus Day weekend. They have their inventory blowout sale. Get rid of it now so that we don't have to keep it during the winter. They can't really say that. There's no product. I mean, we're not saying don't go to your dealership. Go to the dealership, right? Because sometimes there are new lines that that our New England dealers take on a new line, and if you haven't been to the dealership in a while because you just bought one a year or two ago, there might be some new product there that you want to take a look at that might not be as popular because people don't know about it yet because it's a new product.
Good point, John, because several of the dealers have, in fact, picked up new product lines because they cannot get product from their existing vendors, and they want to make sure they have something on the lot. The other interesting thing that's happening from a consumer standpoint is, let's say a consumer puts their unit for sale on RV Trader or RVT or Craigslist. The first call they get might be a dealer. The consumers are competing against the dealers because the dealers are buying third-party RVs and paying a premium to get them so we can have them on the lot.
That's so true. That rising tide floats all boats type thing. With the scarcity of new product available, I heard, in fact, when we were at Normandy Farms a couple weeks ago at the charity event, we were talking to a couple of the dealers, and they said that they are paying retail for used products.
Yep.
And then they clean them up, and they can still, make their margin on it. But if you are thinking of selling your unit, now's the time possibly to consider that, because you can drop it pretty well.
There's a couple of things that could take place. They could even if they're thinking about buying a new unit, they could sell the current unit, not worry about it during the winter, and in the spring go out and buy a new unit.
Exactly.
Because they're not trading it in, because prices are a little bit higher right now.
And here's another thing that we've been talking about. I know we've got a great guest sitting in the green room.
We've got a flock of messages too.
Right. He's eating all of our green room hospitality food, with the Jack Daniels, and I brought cider. But anyway, so here's another issue that RV buyers may want to consider. There were a lot of people this year that may have bought the wrong RV. Now, does it mean it's the wrong style? It might not have been for what their needs are. They might have bought something that turned out to be too small, something that turned out to be too big, something that turned out that they said, you know what, I just don't like this camping lifestyle. So my guess is that come springtime or maybe early winter, there are going to be a lot of units on the market. specifically for those reasons. Not that there's anything wrong with them. It's just they bought wrong because they bought what was left on the lot instead of what was really for their specific needs.
Well, let's bring up Mr. Burns, who's sitting in the green room. Walt Burns, welcome to RVing in New England.
Oh, thank you guys very much. Appreciate it. Great to be here.
Hey, Bob, it's important to point out.
What?
It's important to point out that Mr. Burns is speaking to us from North Carolina.
Yep.
However, he has roots in New England, so he's a good guy. He's one of us.
Okay, so he's eligible. He's also an associate member. EasyCare, who he works for, is an associate member of NERVDA, and actually does business with quite a few of our dealers. So let me just run through, Walt, so you get a sense of who's here tonight. Michelle Fontaine from Rolling On TV, and she was with us a couple of weeks ago for the Girl Camper College. That
sure, I saw that.
Really did. Gail Hogan is on. Gail is half of the state directorship in Rhode Island with her husband Steve for the Good Sam.
Yeah, and Gail was with me 2 weeks ago. While you were in Maine, I was in Normandy Farm. So
that's right.
You, Gail came with me.
Well, she really wanted to meet me because she hasn't met me in person. But I said, look, you'll have to just take second best because DePietro will be down there.
But Bob, when she does meet you, the disappointment.
But I really want to meet you.
It's going to be so overwhelming.
Yeah. So Jerry Plant says, "Hey, I made it. I made it in. Greetings. Oh, greetings from.
He's there now.
Preaching KO8 in Vermont.
He must be. Ask Jerry. Well, I can ask Jerry what it's like. It must be beautiful up there now because unless today's weather took a lot of leaves down, he's up there during prime time.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott Nichols is on from Marshfield. Ed Hurlbert from RV Tips. Hello, guys. Texas weather is great. All right, so last week I asked Don to say hello to you, Ed, and what were we going to ask him about? Oh, care camp. So, Ed, I want to see if Don did his duty. Did Don Hawes talk to you about becoming engaged with care camps at the Texan RV Park? And Walt, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to get down there. No, I'm sorry. I'm mixing Ed up with Terry Cooper. I'm sorry, Ed.
Ed, you're off the hook.
Bad day. Mark Polk from RV Education.
Old age has set in here. With the yellow shirt.
No, it was a long day, and we had some technical issues before the show, and we almost had a failure there, but we're back and running. So Mark Polk from RV Education 101. Kirk Ivankovich. If live to get my Jaco. I don't understand that, Kirk.
He might have spoken into it.
If live to get my Jaco, I could sell them all. I need more information on that one, Kirk. Christopher Powers, I've got a camper for sale. We don't do sales on the show or on the NERVDA site, Christopher, but I would encourage you to talk to one of our dealers. Well, tell me where you're located, Christopher, and then I can give you an idea of some of the dealers down there. Walter Swenson was traveling this week. Walter is the Mass State Director with his lovely wife, Donna.
Time out.
Don't you go telling any stories about Donna and Walter.
Walter made it from Massachusetts to Florida in
19.
It was ridiculous. I think he set a land speed record.
He averaged, if I remember correctly, he averaged 72 miles an hour. Averaged.
He had to be going 90.
He said he hit 80 a couple of times, but I think he went over 80 a couple of times too. If you wind up with 72. Evening from Claremont, Florida. RV lots seem to have plenty of units down here. Hey, Walter, the pictures that you were posting, it sounds like it's a really nice campground or resort that you're in. Okay, Don Hawes is there from Texas. Sorry, Don, I screwed up. But you're still not off the hook. Did you talk to Terry Cooper? Kirk says paying retail for used is to retail again is not sound business. I don't know. Don't know enough about that.
Okay. No, he's when I said some of these dealers are paying retail, paying retail for used to retail again is not sound business. Well, you know what, Kirk? It could be sound business if the margin is still there.
The margin's there. He's talking about retail on the NADA book, Kirk.
Right.
And
right.
and the dealer is going to market it. And believe me, the dealer is not going to buy something that they don't think they're going to make a profit on.
Right.
They've been there. Yeah. Okay. So Christopher, you're in Vermont. We got 3 great dealers up there. Pete's RV up in Burlington, Meckelson RV in East Montpelier, and Country Camper in East Montpelier. Call them up, tell them what you've got, and see if they might want to buy it for their lot. Don says if you're buying a unit, new or used, you should get it inspected by an independent third-party inspector. Absolutely. Doug Turner says the RV dealers around me in Indiana are just about empty. Camping World has 1 2020 diesel pusher. That's all, and that's true around the country. Wow. And Kirk is out there in Big Sky RV in Billings, Montana. Thanks, Kirk. I appreciate having another dealer on the show. Susie Q. Landis says, "Yay, girl camper." And Michelle Fontaine says, "Lee's has a ton of inventory. They just keep coming in." Yeah, I his inventory is amazing. Jerry says foliage is great. Kirk. Main Good Sam. Hi, guys. Frank Cates is back with us from Salem. Wow. Ed, Don, Maria. So we got a full house. So we ought to probably tell people why the other guy's sitting in the lower right-hand corner. He's probably sitting there saying, the hell these guys talking about? I'm here. Really. Hey, Bob. So
Walter, thank you for joining us. That's about all the time we have tonight, folks. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next week.
Blast.
All right, Walt, go ahead. Tell them who you are and what company you work for and what we're going to talk about tonight.
Well, thanks, guys. Bob, John, you two are really a blast. And first, I wanted to say thanks to both of you and the New England RV Dealer Association. You're top notch, and I've been fortunate to dial in and listen over the last couple of years on most of these events on Wednesday evening. And the content and support that you have for the dealers and the members, we're just really proud to be a member of the association. And yes, I work with EasyCare. Again, I'm the brand manager for our RV program at the company, and very fortunate to get a chance to know individuals like you and the passion that we all have essentially to help. Really, we focus on our dealership's core needs and objectives and goals and how we can help. But at the end of the day, it's all about all of the people having a blast and enjoying their friends and families camping and having a great time traveling throughout the country and in Canada that have invested in protecting their vehicle with some kind of EasyCare product or service. So we're real super fortunate to have a couple thousand dealers. 3/4 are about automotive dealers, and another about 25% of those are recreational vehicle dealers in the country that lean on us to make sure we take great care of their customers. But up in the great area of the country in New England, our partners at EasyCare of New England, and in Ken and Greg and everybody now, we're just pumped to be a part of the association and appreciate the opportunity.
Well, it's interesting because you're not one of the new guys on the block, and there's a lot of companies trying to get into this industry. You've been out there for quite some time and get some national awards for the product. So you really have an established reputation in there. I know your relationship with some of our New England dealers actually precedes my coming into NERVDA in 2013. You've got 10 and 15-year relationships that either go back that far or dealers that you've had through that time. But Kirk, I want to answer Kirk real quick. Kirk, last week we had Jennifer Mercer on the show. So if you go back onto our website, look under videos, you can see the show that we did a whole hour with Jennifer and Care Camps last week.
So Bob, he's from Billings, Montana. They must know each other.
Oh, I'm sure that's why he's recommending that.
They must know each other.
I mentioned
Walter brought up something very important here before we go into the specifics of the products that you offer, Walter, is that he said traveling is fun. And you know what? Traveling is fun. And traveling with your family is even better. Actually, traveling without your family stinks.
Right.
When you got to deal with airports or rental cars, I mean, that's work. But when you get the opportunity to hit the road with your kids or your grandkids, not as much with your brothers and sisters, but with your kids or grandkids, it really is a special time. And it's important to have that peace of mind, knowing that if something goes wrong, either prior to hitting the road or while you're on the road or after you come back from the trip, that there is some type of protection for it.
Let's, I took some of your points on your note, because one of the things that's important tonight, we don't want you to think, and Walt shares this view, this is not a sales pitch tonight. We want to talk about why you should do business with your dealer. Mm-hmm. And they may sell EasyCare products, and quite honestly, they may not sell EasyCare products. That's Walt and his team's job to go out there and convince them and get more of our dealers. But let's start off with this one, Walt, in terms of protecting your vehicle and why purchasing coverage from a dealer is important.
Well, thank you. Absolutely. And really, in today's business environment and climate, and I don't even know how to describe the last 4 months, let's say, and how amazing and robust retail sales have been at all of the dealers around the country. It's just been an amazing phenomenon is with the COVID and everything else that's going on. But we've got so many first-time buyers also, now getting into our industry, and essentially people that are buying these recreational vehicles, whether they're a towable or a motorhome. I mean, some of these are pretty significant investments. And the ability for the dealerships and their business managers to really be able to sit down and have a nice, comfortable conversation about how much they're paying for their vehicle and the value and the savings ultimately that they would achieve by making the investment in an extended vehicle service contract, or maybe looking at some other exterior or interior protection plan, looking at maybe a prepaid maintenance plans. All of these benefits, when you really look at them from a consumer standpoint, it's protecting that vehicle, number one, and number two, keeping it in as good a shape as possible, which means keeps it in its highest value in case they were to trade it or sell it to an individual. But even more than that is really protecting the customer's budget. So if they are working with a finance manager at a dealership and they're fortunate enough to get the financing at the dealership, that's just a perfect avenue for customers to look at the vehicle service contracts and other benefits that really pertain to their ownership experience and comfortably fitting those investments into their budget. At the end of the day, having the peace of mind that they can travel again anywhere they want and know that they're in good shape because they've done the due diligence, they've looked at the plans that the dealerships are offering, and they feel comfortable that they're going to take care of them.
So how does it work if they're away from their home base?
Easy. Yep. We do it all day long. And yeah, we have been fortunate, Bob. And I guess we just had our 36th year anniversary this past, but I should say it's still September. So we've been doing this for 36 years.
So you were doing so you were doing horse and buggies before?
Hey, not to get off on a tangent, but we are fortunate enough. One of our clients is the very first recreational vehicle dealership in the history of the RV industry.
Get out.
Take a guess what year the first, it was actually like a buggy, but any idea what year that was?
67.
1958.
04.
04.
Yeah. They're in Omaha, Nebraska, AC Nelson RV, the greatest people, but they literally, they have one on their showroom floor, but it's basically laying on wood. But anyways, traveling throughout the country, and that was actually one of my bullet points right here on just helping everybody maybe share some best practices. One of the key first questions I think people want to ask is if they're going to be investing in a service contract, and most providers out there are absolutely legitimate. If you're working with the dealership, please don't ever purchase a service contract by someone calling you up on a phone and saying, let me have your credit card number. But ultimately, when you're traveling throughout the country and in Canada, we want to make sure the coverage is also good in Canada. It's just as easy as either being at a campground or pulling into a service facility and informing the service writer or even the emergency roadside assistance provider, hey, listen, I've got, let's just say, EasyCare coverage. Here's an 800 number. Let's make sure we call them before anyone does any work on the vehicle. So it's really as easy as making a phone call to educate, whether the service writer or a a service roadside provider that I've got coverage before you do anything. It's as simple as that.
Interesting. Now, you talked about Canada. What about going south to Mexico?
I'm not familiar with anyone in our industry that offers the mechanical coverage, the service contracts in Mexico. And there's a few reasons for that. And this applies to the auto industry as well. But the mechanical, the service departments, the training of those technicians, the invalid of the factory warranties. There's just so many things that change south down in Mexico. But in Canada, we're in great shape, and obviously a lot of the dealerships are located on the border of the country. You can travel and have a blast up there, and all of the benefits that most of our competitors, and even obviously EasyCare, all of them are available in Canada as well.
Okay. Jerry's got a quick question. He's good comment, and he's with Major's Service Center down in Cape Cod. They're our largest.
Sure.
You know, David Major down there, and he says additional warranty coverage is very important when buying new, with the quality of new units being less than optimal. And that's an issue. We've got a lot of units coming out of Elkhart. They're being done quickly, and the dealers have to do a lot of prep when they're coming in. But yeah, now more than ever, that's a good investment before you walk out of the F&I office to make sure that it's covered.
Well, let me bring up one additional point, and I'm sure that you guys have thought of this. Even if you get your brand new RV from your dealership, and there's nothing on the to-do list. You know, what do you call it? The check-off list there.
Yep.
What's that list called? You know.
Well, not the PDI or the get ready or.
But it's perfect. Okay. Or even if they fixed it, the fact is, our highways are in horrendous shape. And I don't care where you go, but the bridge joints on the interstate highways, after years of neglect, especially up north, where the salt from the road during the wintertime has just, Bob, when we travel on 495, they're doing it over all the time. And even by the time they get finished doing that 70-mile stretch of 495 over, they need to do it over again. But there's some spots up around exit 35 or 36 in Lowell, and some of our local people know what I mean.
Yeah.
That porpoise, that it's the roads are bad.
Well said, John. And the point there being the fact that these vehicles are bouncing around all over the place. And yes, a vehicle service contract is intended to repair a mechanical failure, not something that is involved like with physical damage. But at the end of the day, we also have, and almost all of the dealerships I'm aware of offer also a tire and wheel road hazard benefit, and it's really quite inexpensive. And it's almost not about when it's going to happen, or if it's going to happen. It's when you're going to have a problem on the side of the road. But getting back to the point at Majors, which I want to just bring up for just a second, please, was that it's also really important that, from our dealer's perspective at least, that if someone's got something going on, something mechanical's happened, they're somewhere traveling, they're either at a campsite and working with a mobile technician, or they're actually working with the service department, that provider, that service contract provider, reimburses the dealership their posted retail labor rate. Their rate that it's basically called the customer pay rate. And in addition to that, they also reimburse in the mechanical repair of the service contract the dealership's retail labor time, which is typically either the factory time or spader time, which is very important to the technicians. And then the third piece of the equation is that they also reimburse the dealership up to retail or MSRP on the part. So with our dealers, it's critical, and their customers, it's basically the only responsibility a customer would be their deductible. We don't want to hold the customer hostage or have them in some uncomfortable position where, like, the dealer says, listen, here's what the service provider is going to authorize, but we need more. That doesn't work for us at EasyCare.
That's interesting. This diagram shows some of the benefits of the vehicle coverage. You want to just talk, is that the standard package, and then you have other items that get added to that?
Yes, and thanks for that, Bob. That just reminded me that really most providers, and obviously including us, offers a couple, 2 or 3 various levels of coverage. And the most comprehensive coverage, which I would strongly recommend, and it's not much more expensive, is called an exclusionary level of coverage. You know, we never use the term bumper to bumper, but the exclusionary level is actually the best level of coverage you can get, because we couldn't, nor could any other provider, actually list every possible part or component in an RV that's covered. And what they do is they defer to listing what's not covered. So really make sure that you're asking and working with the dealership on, okay, so we've got an exclusionary level of coverage. We happen to call ours Total Care. And then there may be other levels of stated component coverage, which means if that part is listed on the service contract, it's covered. If it's not listed, it's not covered. It's pretty simple there, but you want to be very careful on which level of coverage you're purchasing. And the stated level of coverage might be right for an older vehicle. I mean, we actually offer coverage on vehicles up to 15 years old. And that's pretty common. So that's a 2005 model this year going forward, but making sure the coverage is right. And those are some examples of the average cost of repairs now. And I think we all know that, you know, really labor rates and parts are probably never going backwards. So it gets more and more expensive. That's why kind of locking in the cost of repairs for 4, 5, or 6 years is really smart.
No, I don't know if anybody else's screen looks like mine, but under benefits, it's real small. Can you read some of those to our viewers that might not be able to see it?
Absolutely. And that's really just a quick shot of our brochure, which I happen to have that also here. But really what we're doing right there is just listing some of the mechanical coverages and average cost of repairs on a motorhome or a towable on the top of it. But when you take and look at the mechanical coverage, John and guys, there's really another piece of the equation that's extremely important as well, which is essentially all the other benefits that come with a vehicle service contract, which are critical. And that's what everybody also wants to make sure that they ask and work with their finance managers on. Your mechanical coverage, critical. But also, what kind of emergency roadside assistance plan does the service contract offer? What kind of towing plan does it offer, and how much? Is it a sign and drive plan? In other words, I need a tow. I just sign the tow truck driver's invoice and they're off and taking care of your vehicle. Does the plan come with a mobile mechanic or a mobile technician benefit? Does the service contract include a technical assistance hotline, which ours has been on fire lately because it's a great 800 number for, you know, new RV owners to call and say, hey, listen, the dealership's closed and I forgot how to slide this in or slide this out. So what we're listing right there, John, are some of the other additional benefits that come along with the service contract, which are really important.
Okay, good.
So that brings up a question, because you know, we firmly believe in education, and I know you do a lot of it with the dealers. So we have all these new customers coming into the marketplace. They go to a dealership, they pick out the one they want, and then they go into the F&I and they list a whole bunch of things that they want them to buy. And looking at it, because a lot of our dealers jump on here too, but what types of training do you offer behind the scenes that a customer may not see, but it's important to know that that F&I person is certified with your company or has been trained in your company? And I know you put a big premium on that, but explain that process.
Yes, sir. And you're right. It's very important. And I guess I could kind of describe that whole focus as it pertains to compliance. That we take that very seriously when working with our dealers, and essentially building a process at the dealership and again at the business department, even though we do a lot of work in the service department, but in the business department, when you're sitting down with the customer, we want to make sure every customer is aware of every benefit that they're entitled every time. We kind of call it the 300% rule. And so using a menu or some system that can consistently educate and allow a finance manager to essentially say, hey, folks, we've got a variety of benefits. Let's have a conversation about what your goal is and how many years you think you're going to be owning the vehicle, where you plan on traveling, and what's basically going to fit your ownership experience. And then they'll use the menu to really customize it essentially and basically educate the customers on making them aware of everything that they're entitled to. So something doesn't happen a year down the road and they say, hey, wait a minute, you never told me about this. But so we even ask if the customer does essentially want to waive a benefit or a product or two, that's fine. They actually do want to capture the signature on that declination page. So everyone's got a record of We really wanted to let you know what was available. We understood some of them didn't make sense for you. We want to document that. So the training and the compliance piece is a nice package, really, Bob, that we want to make sure. And it's all about customer ownership or their experience at the dealership, I should say, as well. So that consistency really makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit. This is something that amazingly has taken, I think, and correct me because you guys are so into. John, can you see the comments? You want to pick up on a couple of comments there?
Yeah. There's a couple good points here. That Pat Hawes said, Don and Pat Hawes said, 495 again has been being constructed since I got my license in the 1970s. So everybody knows that roads are an issue. Walter brings up a very good point all the way from Florida. How are contracts being impacted by the new electronics in the RV? Things like travel trailers now have body control modules in them. Is that a factor in the product that we're talking about?
It's a good question, and it absolutely is. And that's why I was kind of referring a little earlier about the different levels of coverage. There's just so much now technology being incorporated into these recreational vehicles. They're so cool. I mean, there's just, toy haulers. There's just so much there now that the exclusionary coverage is always the safest bet. That means we literally cover everything unless it's listed as it's being excluded. So all those high-tech items, we call it, are included. And there are some stated component coverages that do capture some of those components, but it's always safe to go with the exclusionary plan, and those are all covered. We certainly get all those.
Okay. And then Don said, what about after you've already bought your RV? Our product, is your product available? Do you have to go back to the selling dealer, or what if you bought it from a private sale?
We prefer you going back to the selling dealer, but certainly people are moving all the time. And the great news is, and we do have a little more of an aggressive eligibility than some of our other competitors, but anybody can go into a dealership and have, as long as it's 15 years old or newer, and purchase the same high level of coverage and have the same deductible options as if you're purchasing it new. The one requirement is that we have the vehicle inspected, so the dealership does need to inspect the vehicle, and we're really only inspecting it for the mechanical components of the vehicle. That is in the mechanical items the service contract's going to cover. And once the vehicle is inspected, of course, if there's anything not working like it should, we need to get that inspected, or repaired. But they're good to go. So we actually are very aggressive. We call it our service drive sales program, where anybody can come in and say, geez, I love this recreational vehicle. It's 5 or 6 years old. Can I buy coverage for a couple, 3 or 4 more years? And the answer is absolutely. Let's get it inspected. And one little nice piece that also is available for our dealers and other providers is that, some of these service contracts, if you're talking, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 based on the purchase price or the retail value of that vehicle, can get a little expensive. We also offer a 0% payment plan where for as little as 10% down, and other providers have the same option, which is actually becoming very popular right now. So for as little as 10% down, you have a monthly installment of 6, 12, or maybe even 18 months at 0% to make those monthly payments, but your coverage is good immediately. So that's a long answer, but yes, we'd love to have that.
Hey, Bob, before we go to Jerry's question, there's 2 things that we forgot to do the last couple of weeks. We forgot to get to the point where we thank our audience for being with us and ask them to share. So obviously you are our live audience right here. And if you've got the capability to somewhere on your screen or on your Facebook page, if you're watching on Facebook, and I'm going to get into that in just a moment, just hit the like button and share it with people that you know. Now, there are others of you that are watching this on YouTube, okay? So what we were going to ask you to do is subscribe to the channel. So down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, just under the screen, there's a red line that says subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, and then there'll be a little bell that pops up. Hit the bell, and then every time we have a new one of these, you will get it, and you won't have to go searching for it every week. And for those of you that like the content but don't have an hour to sit and watch it, our podcast of the same content is available. So you'll be able to take that with you. If you've got to drive somewhere and you want to listen to great RV information, listen to it on podcast. So you can see this show. Imagine 3 ways to reach Bob and John. Live on Facebook, we're doing right now, on delay on YouTube, and also in the podcast format. The only bad part about the podcast is you don't get to see us.
That's true. That's true.
Some people would say that's the good part.
They may like that. We will list all those links in the comments section later on, so that you do have those. But yeah, that's a good point. We should also, because one of the other things that we haven't put in, John, and we'll just do a real quick plug here for our buddies at Harvest Host. So go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what? Like Jerry will know that, Jerry, your campground is probably sold out up in Keechee, Vermont, or others who are not New England would say Queechee. But anyway, if you're going to be traveling this fall, and can't find a campground, or you're going to be going to Florida and you're concerned with campground availability during the winter, Harvest Host is an absolutely excellent alternative. I've used it several times this summer, and I know so many of our friends, a brand new RVer friends, have bought it. In fact, my son-in-law's family was just at a couple of Harvest Hosts up in Maine last week. So when you get there, it gives you the capability, not when you get there, but when you buy the product, it gives you the capability to look at like orchards, wineries, breweries, and for an additional fee, there's over 300 additional golf courses. So you've got over 1,000 places that you can pick from. They're all over the United States, actually all over North America. Go to harvesthost.com, and when you're paying for it, they will ask you, do you have a special code? And yes, you do have a special code, NERVDA. And guess what, folks? You'll get 15% off. Not 5%, not 10%, but 15% off every year that you renew. So it's a great value, and that's our commercial message. And now back to our regularly scheduled program.
So Jerry Plant says, highly recommend the golf course upgrade to Harvest Host. Absolutely. If you're out there and you like to play golf. And just before that, Jerry said that Majors sold 30 air conditioning units last summer. About half of them went to 2 to 5 year old campers. That's another reason why. So we were starting to talk about prepaid maintenance, Walter, and I think it's been late coming to the game in the RV industry. When I owned my document imaging company, that was how we sold all of our maintenance, and that was 20, 30 years ago, where people paid in advance. In fact, about 20 years ago, probably at least 20 to 15 years ago, I did a presentation at the NERVDA National Convention that at that time was held on the Queen Mary in Long Beach, California.
Nice.
And I made a presentation on prepaid maintenance to dealers, not, being new to the RV industry, being new to RVDA. And I was just a reporter at the time. So I was doing it as a reporter. And I had a room full of dealers, and I started talking about prepaid maintenance and all the benefits. And it was like, what is this guy talking about? It was so foreign to them. I said, I'd encourage you to go back and develop a plan. So now they don't have to develop a plan. You've got a plan. I'm sure some others, but explain how prepaid maintenance works and why dealers should be selling it to every RV.
Yeah, and your experience is exactly what I experienced when we launched our plan in 2017 at RVDA. But a prepaid maintenance plan, we've got a lot of momentum just this year with some of our largest customers in the country, recreational vehicle dealer groups. And I guess dealers are seeing the value essentially of designing and customizing a maintenance plan essentially to offer their customers at a discounted price, so it makes sense to purchase these plans, and to basically drive that service loyalty. And ultimately what everybody wants to accomplish is building that rapport and trust with the service department, where you always go there for services as well as your future retail sales. But the ability now for a lot of our dealers to be able to sit down again in a finance department and using their menu and say, hey folks, we've actually got a design, a prepaid maintenance plan specifically for your motorhome or your towable. And we've got terms up to 3, 4, and 5 years. And this is why it's such a good value. Number one, we're actually offering these services at a significant discount than the price that's listed back in the service department. So it's really a win-win for the customer to purchase these services. And it's also such a great move financially, that because when they purchase these prepaid maintenance services, they're basically using today's dollars. So if there's an increase at the dealership labor rate or parts go up over the next 3, 4 years, they're locking themselves into really these maintenance services at today's dollars and at a discount. It's super convenient. I get a chance to be in service departments quite frequently when I'm talking to customers. And so, purchasing a prepaid plan, let's say on my towable, I've got the ability to come in 2 times during a year and have services done. I can have my vehicle winterized. I can have it summerized. And so I can come in my convenience and I just pull in. There's no money out of pocket. I've already prepaid my services and I have those services performed, and the dealership has my records on file. So it's very convenient. And then I'm doing business at the dealership that I trust. So, when you look at the value, the convenience, and the trust, we're getting some momentum, Bob, believe it or not. So it's starting to really take hold, and consumers are seeing the value as well.
Well, Jerry brings up a good point. He says prepaid maintenance plans will help service centers fill in those idle winter months when you can schedule people to come in and have their maintenance do that. I want to try something. Every time I try something, I get myself in trouble. But I'm going to drop us down. I don't want to hit this to go just yet. I need to drop us down. Let's see.
Living a healthy lifestyle and doing routine checkups go a long way towards staying healthy. And it's the same for her RV. Your dealer offers an RV prepaid maintenance program that can help with out-of-pocket expenses for the general upkeep of your RV. You'll receive discounts off retail pricing for maintenance services included in your plan. And you'll be protected from the rising costs of parts and labor. Your dealer makes RV maintenance easy and affordable. And all services are performed by professional, certified technicians. Keep your RV in tip-top shape with the industry's only Motor Trend recommended Best Buy. Embrace the journey. We'll take care of the rest. This is Jack. Jack is excited to see how many miles he can travel in the RV he just purchased. But over time, Jack's RV could need unplanned repairs to basic systems or sophisticated components and high-tech electrical systems, resulting in thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket expenses. So how can Jack keep his RV running as smoothly as the day he bought it? EasyCare's RV vehicle service contracts offer 2 levels of coverage for motorhomes, box, and towable RVs to suit your budget and driving habits. We provide protection from parts and labor costs associated with costly RV repairs, even some that the manufacturer's warranty doesn't cover. So you can protect your investment and increase your trade-in value. Plus, for new RVs, your tires are covered if they're damaged by road hazards such as glass, metal, potholes, rocks, nails, tree limbs, and more. And it doesn't stop there. We go the extra mile with additional convenience benefits such as 24/7 emergency roadside assistance, towing for your RV, tow vehicle and vehicle being towed, substitute transportation reimbursement, and trip interruption reimbursement, which you can use if your RV is in the shop for a covered repair more than 100 miles away from home. We also include RV concierge service for help with things like storage facility and campground rentals, directions, ticket coordination, and local activities calendar. Plus, you can take advantage of the RV Technical Assistance Line to help troubleshoot basic issues. Or, where available, use the mobile mechanic service to have a licensed repair technician visit you on site. Your RV is your ride to adventure. Keep it running like new with the industry's only Motor Trend recommended Best Buy. Embrace the journey. We'll take care of the rest.
You know, I got so excited when the first one worked. I said, I'm just going to go right into the second one. I'm not going to explain anything. I'm just going to put it. We've had horrible things in the past, but I think Beli's corrected some stuff, and maybe I've learned from my mistakes. But that is a great quick synopsis of what you're doing. And Jerry, Don has a question. He says, I assume he wanted to say, is it only available through the dealership?
Yes, we do like to work with our dealers. We do provide an outbound call service for our dealers, but we do like to do all of our business with our dealers, please. Yes.
That's otherwise I wouldn't have let him join NERVDA. So yes, he has to do that. But let me pull that one off and put you back up. So what are we leaving out that other people should know about? Because there's one here on interior protection.
Yeah. Yes, the exterior, interior chemical treatments and plans. There may be a lot of us around our age that years and years ago, they had a terrible reputation. The products were very poor and really weren't worth much. Consumers were paying too much for a service that didn't provide much value. This particular these products nowadays have come light years now with the chemicals and the ingredients that these chemical companies have found to protect literally the paint and exterior of a recreational vehicle and the leather and fabric surfaces of the interior of a vehicle. We offer one, and we found great feedback from our dealers' customers, because here we go again, John, we're having fun with our family and friends. There's dogs involved, there's kids involved, might even be a glass of red wine that's involved that spills over the carpet or on a couch.
Yeah, those dogs spill wine all the time.
and really, ultimately, you want to do your due diligence and make sure that the provider is legitimate, and most are nowadays. If a dealer is going to offer it, they've done their due diligence. But what is ultimately the true indicator of the value of that chemical plan, let's call it, is the warranty that the customer purchases. And I'm using the word warranty in the true legal definition of it. It truly is a warranty. It stays with the vehicle and on the vehicle, as you could assume, meaning it's not cancelable. But that warranty and the terms and conditions of it really spells out the dollar amounts of what the customers are entitled to clean or repair, let's say an outdoor awning or the bull nose of a towable. It's really these warranties, as ours is really the meat and potatoes of what the customer can feel confident about, that says, hey, listen, this plan right here is going to do all of these benefits for me, protect my vehicle from all these weather conditions, from fading. Even rips, tears, and burns are covered in most plans now. So at the end of the day, the warranty is really what's going to be the meat and potatoes that you want to look at, in addition to actually the chemistry in the products that are being applied to it. But everything's spray on now. Gosh, Bob and John, we've even not to get off on a tangent, but a lot of our dealers during COVID wanted some type of disinfectant that they could use and spray on and circulate through the air systems of their recreational vehicles of their customers when they're either taking delivery or in for service. And so
because of
some of that disinfectant that actually helped an awful lot and give our customers a lot of confidence now.
But the interest in that obviously has escalated in light of the COVID crisis.
Without a doubt. But to get back to your point, those chemical plans, the exterior and interior plans, really are worth their salt now. They really are legitimate, and they are really protecting the vehicles. And it's amazing once the exterior has been treated, how easy it is to wash and clean the vehicle now too. So it's a win-win.
Yeah. All right, I want to acknowledge Chris Andrew just joined us from Hemlock Hill RV.
All right.
And John, did you get your invitation to Chris's Lobster Fest that he posted pictures with him and Jason all over the internet last weekend? Mine must have got lost.
I haven't checked my mail in a couple of days. I don't. The answer is no.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. So Don Haas says, how would that work with a full-time traveling RVer?
Traveling is the key word there.
Traveling, such as he and his wife. Sure.
I mean, any of the products or services that I've been talking about, or we've all been talking about tonight, is available simply by calling the 1-800 number. So whether it's the mechanical coverage, whether it's let me back up. The prepaid maintenance services do need to be performed at the dealership that's offering you those plans, and only at the dealership offering those plans. But everything else, the chemical plans, the service contracts, the tire and wheel road hazard, it's just 1-800 call away. As long as you're in the United States or Canada, you're good to go.
Well, and that's a good point about the prepaid maintenance, because I think that is such a valuable asset for a dealer, because it keeps the customer coming back in. And while they're in there for maintenance, they're into your parts and accessory store, they're talking to their sales rep. Maybe they just saw a new rig come in the driveway and say, hey, I didn't know you carried XYZ brand. Let's go out and look at it. So again, it's just building a much deeper relationship with every one of your customers.
Mm-hmm. Completely agree. And the service writers I'm fortunate enough to work with, they realize that they're making an investment in offering those services at a discount. And I wish I had the percentage of how often this happens, but when you pull in and take advantage of your prepaid maintenance services, there's a likelihood of the technician finding maybe a couple, 2 other 3 things that do need to be addressed. And of course, the dealership's going to generate those repairs at customer pay retail rate.
Yep. And I'll tell you, when I owned my imaging company and we offered it on all of the imaging equipment that we sold, and some of that went from, I don't know, $20,000 to $200,000.
Wow.
I will tell you that those service technicians were one of the highest profit line items that I had in my dealership. And that was the point that I tried to make to RVVA, some 15 years ago. This is a really profitable line item for the dealer, but it's a great benefit for the customer.
It is. And Bob, one other note that, I'm fortunate to speak to a lot of different dealers around the country, and prepaid maintenance has been a subject of conversation. And clearly there's been a balancing act of the abundance of vehicles that are in service already, whether they're looking at a factory warranty repair or just a general customer service repair. So service departments have been quite busy in general for quite some time. So accelerating that activity, they're like, are you kidding me? But no, the prepaid plan does help.
Yeah, so Chris joined us. Jason didn't join us. Chris joined us late because he was busy at work, but he's the GM. The reason his brother Jason didn't join us, he's the fixed ops manager and runs the service department. Jason's still there. But I should note, John, that Chris has fired one across the bow.
I see that.
Bob, anytime you and John want to come and learn how a real Rhode Island lobster bake is done, you're more than welcome. Lobsters in Rhode Island.
I'd like to go.
Chris, lobsters in Rhode Island. James Conboy. Well, hey, glad you could join us, Jim. Where the hell you been? Hi, all. Just getting on. We'll watch the replay. Very busy at the shop these days. This is the most incredible time for our industry. I'm so excited for the dealers and for the customers that we have a whole host of new customers, and the dealers are busy as hell. Every one of my dealers, and like I said, some of them are getting pretty low on inventory. Some are out of inventory. Mm-hmm. And the projections that you saw last week, projections for 2021 are that we are going to break the all-time record for consumer RV sales next year. So guys and gals, if you think we are busy now,
get ready.
Get ready. You haven't seen anything yet.
I tell you, Bob, and when working with the dealerships and their business offices, their finance departments, it's just a perfect and ideal scenario where we're working and we're presenting what benefits and services they're available to. We're doing it in a very compliant and positive way. And the fact that our dealers have access to lenders that offer finance terms of 10, 12, and even up to 20 years. So that's a 240-month installment loan so if I want to go ahead and protect my vehicle and my budget with a service contract, a chemical plan, if certainly I want a debt waiver plan or gap in the event something were to happen was total, fitting those investments into a budget of a loan that's essentially 10, 12, 15, or 20 years, it's just very comfortable for a customer to make that decision. So it's big business, and we want to continue to push that.
So we got a couple of minutes left. You've covered an awful lot. Are there any other important things that you want to talk about on the type or the quality of products and services available, again, generically through all dealers? Did you pretty much cover it with prepaid maintenance and a service contract and interior exterior? Is there anything else unique that perhaps EasyCare offers as a distinct competitive advantage, and why some of our dealers might be looking at it?
Well, I appreciate that, Bob, and we do have quite a robust suite of benefits that I won't bore everyone with right now, but we'd be grateful to say hello and sit down and see if there's a way we can help. That's what we're all about at EasyCare, is helping our dealerships accomplish their goals. But one thing that I would like to just spend a moment on is this. We want to define it as like the digital retail experience of a customer. Essentially, someone's sitting at their couch and they're on their laptop or they're on their computer and they're looking at a dealership's website. We're really starting to roll up our sleeves and help our dealerships really, fine tune that digital experience where customers really want, at the click of their fingers, all the information that they can need to make a really informed decision. And certainly they're looking at the recreational vehicles of what is going to fit with their friends or their family, but also being as transparent in some of the video content that you were just sharing. We want to also provide customers, essentially through the dealership's websites, also the digital information on those products and services that are also available, so they can do a little research on a vehicle service contract or the dealership's prepaid maintenance plan and really feel good about that. And we're finding that more customers that do that research and it's available on the website are more inclined to purchase that because they're looking at this in their own convenience. So it's really important.
So it's embedded in the dealer website. So it's an all-inclusive visit to the dealer website, besides understanding what new and used inventory might be, so many other ways that they can protect their vehicle.
Exactly right. Yep.
And so Ken joined us. I'm going to be with Ken next week, visiting some of our dealers. Ken says service, customer service. I think it's a hallmark, but I'll let you brag a little bit on that.
Well, as it pertains to customer service at EasyCare,
customer to dealer service, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And listen, we've got a big piece of that role also, because we've got to make sure our dealers are confident that if their customers are traveling again or they're pulling right up in that service department, they give us a call, that we pick it up quickly, efficiently, and we've got trained service advisors. We've got trained adjusters and a team to basically adjudicate a claim and get the customer vehicle repair to get it back on the road. We take that super seriously. We've been doing it again for 36 years. We've actually come up almost on a threshold of paying $4 billion in claims paid now. So, yes, it's big business, but that customer's ownership experience, we've got quite a responsibility there as it pertains to the dealership as well. And I'm really proud of the team that we have, that our core values, our transparency, our company's integrity, and there are other great providers out there as well. I'm just saying, making sure you're dealing with a company that you feel really confident can take great care of your customers.
Great. John, any closing statements?
No, we just want to thank.
Other than to brag about the Maine lobster over the Rhode Island
Exactly. But we want to thank Walter so much for spending time with us, and also to tell our folks that are watching us on YouTube to subscribe. Just be below the bottom part of the screen. There's a little word that says subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, then you get us every week.
Great. Well, thanks very much for joining us on RVing in New England this week. It was a pleasure having you, and I'll see you and Ken next week when we go visit some of our dealers.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks so much, everybody.
Have a great day.